say, there are so many similarities between Lowell, the Merrimack Valley, and southeastern Mass. And one of them is, it's interesting, if you look at why and how this university became part of UMass, and then the University of Lowell became part of UMass, they had a Saxton Commission report. And one of the reasons why UMass Amherst and UMass Boston wanted southeastern Mass and the Merrimack Valley to be represented is because of the outstanding state delegation from both regions. And it's really interesting to me that legislators who are sent to Beacon Hill from this area, there are certain requirements or demands that this region puts on, and that is that you're going to produce for this region. You're going to try to generate economic development, you're going to try to generate state assistance to make sure that the economy and the people in this region are first and foremost. And the same thing is true in the Merrimack Valley. Another similarity that strikes me with both mayors here is the Merrimack Valley has this sort of historic competitiveness between Lowell and Lawrence. I don't know all of the details of the history of Fall River, New Bedford, but I know this. I know both mayors are here this morning, and I know that both of them have a fundamental understanding of the importance of working collaboratively to move the economy of this region by working together with this university and the other higher education institutes, including K through 12. They fundamentally understand it, and they wouldn't be here without it. So I want to thank both mayors for being here, and also the outstanding state legislative delegation. I'm delighted and excited to be here, and I'll tell you, when the new faculty stood up, that's what this university is all about. It's really all about faculty and students and the interaction that takes place with faculty and students. That's what drives the transformative effect that universities have on students. And when you see a commitment made by an administration to new tenure-track faculty members, that's really what it's all about. So I am excited to be here, particularly with the new faculty. And I'm excited to be the president of UMass, as Davina mentioned. The first time an undergraduate of UMass is actually the leader of the institution. Let me tell you why I think that's important. Because every student that attends this university, 73,000 system-wide, when I see and interact with them, I think of me as a student. My sisters and I were the first in our families to graduate from college, and I feel passionately that a UMass education on any of our campuses will give a student who graduates the opportunity to achieve anything that they set out to achieve in their lives. And I think that's really important. When I first came to UMass, people would say, you must really miss the Congress. You don't interact with presidents and senators and prime ministers. I said, I don't miss the Congress at all. Watching what's going on down there. But secondly, and more importantly, I believe that this university can have such an impact on our economy in this state, and make no mistake about it. The economy of Massachusetts drives through UMass. That's a fact. We are a research institution, and by the way, I'm pleased with the fact that Dartmouth has been growing their research to now over $30 million. But make no mistake about it. There are three major research players in Massachusetts. What's a major research player? Institutions that generate $600 million or more in research. You know who the three are? Harvard, MIT, and UMass. And the next university is way, 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 way behind. We literally drive the engine of the Massachusetts economy. 73,000 students. What do you need? We're an innovation economy. What do you need in an innovation economy? You need a highly skilled workforce in technology and innovation. That's what we do. We graduate people that have the skills that are necessary to make this economy work. That's what we do at UMass, and we do it better than any other institution in this Commonwealth. And that's important, and I think that's one of the reasons why legislators are supportive. They fundamentally understand this economy can't grow without investing in the University of Massachusetts. So I am honored to be the leader of this institution. Next year, as you all know, will mark an important milestone in UMass's history. 25 years ago, Southeastern Massachusetts University became UMass Dartmouth. And this university has made a lot of progress. And I want to say that who serves on the Board of Trustees is fundamentally important. There is a statute that created UMass that says there has to be at least one alum of all of the campuses. UMass Dartmouth has always done a pretty good job of getting one or two or maybe three alums. And I want to say that we have had strong, aggressive advocates in Jim and Bob, Karen, Maria Furman, and Marty Exaferis on the Board of Trustees. And it's really, really important. I won't get into all the details, but I can assure you that when you have advocates like the four people that I just mentioned, they're going to make sure that UMass Dartmouth is taken care of. And I want to make a suggestion, because I know that there are legislators here, I know the business community is represented here, and I know that alums are represented here. We need to continue to send to the Board of Trustees highly qualified trustees who come from this region. Make a note of it. Make a note of which people who are contributing to this, who are alums, who are contributing to the growth of this economy, would be good trustees. Because if you don't make suggestions of who gets onto the Board of Trustees, somebody else is going to make it for you. So you've had great trustees. Trustees are critically important, and you need to think about the future. I want to say that my passion, and you probably could tell, for public higher education is rooted in where I come from. And I feel passionately that the University of Massachusetts, every campus, is not a safety net for those who can't afford to go to private institutions. Isn't a safety net for those who can't get into private institutions. We literally are committed to excellence. The University of Massachusetts, the Times of London pointed out, one of the top 100 universities in the world. What I want at the University of Massachusetts is excellent. I want everything that we do to be done on the highest possible level. I want us to hire the best people that we can find. It's one of the reasons why I broke the rules when Chancellor Grossman said that you couldn't clap to the end. Well, I'm familiar with the search that took place for provost at this campus. And I'm telling you, you have a great provost. I'm telling you, when you look at it from a national perspective, I'm really enthusiastic about his leadership, but I believe that we become great institutions by demanding excellence in everything that we do. You know, I hired a provost up at Lowell when I got there, and I had a national search, and we hired the provost from Northeastern University because I felt that Lowell was at a point in time where Northeastern was probably 20 years ago, and I wanted someone that understood research and the financial challenges, because most of our money comes from tuition and fees, no longer from the Commonwealth. So I wanted someone that understood, and we hired a provost, and we paid the provost $80,000 more than what the previous provost was making. And somebody said to me, "You can't pay the provost $80,000 more than the previous provost." I said, "Yes, we can. We're going to pay him what he was making at Northeastern University. We're going to get the best provost that this university has ever had." I want excellence in everything that we do. There is no reason why this university can't continue to grow in terms of stature, in terms of rankings. I can tell you I'm committed to it. I'm committed to working with legislators from this area to see if we can do the best we can in terms of funding, in terms of looking for innovative ways to respond to what the needs of the economy are in this region and throughout the state. But we want greatness. Another point I want to make is about the law school here. I'm trained as a lawyer, as Davina mentioned. This is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's where Justice Louis Brandeis did so much of his great work, focusing on lawyers in the role that they can play in public service. We have a law school that's a public law school in Massachusetts. First time ever, the only one. And I am committed, and I hope all of you are committed, to making that law school a great law school. We have it on a trajectory to get ABA accreditation. Surely, at this time, all kinds of economic and racial inequality, we see the fundamental need to have a public law school committed to economic justice and committed to public service. Massachusetts needs that kind of law school, and we're committed to making it happen. One of the great things about coming to this position and having had a myriad of experience in leading up to it, and as a lawyer, I had two public positions. I was the first assistant district attorney of Middlesex County, which was a very important public position. As the DA knows, the DAs on the front line of the fight against crime in this country play really, really important roles. I also spent 4 years as a chief securities regulator for Massachusetts, which basically protects investors in their investments in the blue sky laws in the state. So I believe passionately in public service. I also believe that a university president needs to stand up and say what is right when it is right. When I was a student at UMass, Lowell, and I graduated, when I first got admitted, the state paid about 88% of the overall budget. Today, at Lowell, the state pays about 24% of the overall budget. So when we make decisions as administrators, we need to make decisions that are fundamentally in the interest of students, because students are the ones that pay the lion's share of the education. So it's critically important that every decision that we make as faculty members, as administrators, as deans, are made in the interest of students, and I feel passionately about that. And I also feel passionately about speaking up for what I think is right for the university. I believe that you need to speak with passion to power on occasion, because sometimes it calls for that. We're looking for excellence at this university, and I didn't take this job to see this university step backwards in any way, shape, or manner. I look at the progress that UMass has made over the last decade, the increase in the number of applications, the demand for UMass education. I looked and heard the Chancellor talk about freshman success rates. I want to spend a minute on that. Do you hear what she said? She said freshman success rates were at 70% just a few years ago, and today they're at 79%. Well, what does that mean? It means that 30% of the students who were freshmen at UMass Dartmouth didn't become sophomores at UMass Dartmouth. And you know what? If you lose a student as a freshman, there's a chance they're never coming back to the university, never coming back to college education. Think of the negative impact that has, not just on that person's life, but the economy of this region, the economics of the university that loses a student, the economics of the entire state. From 70 to 79% is a dramatic growth in freshman success rate. I know something about it because when I got to Lowell, the freshman success rate was 75%, and now it's 85%. That is fundamentally important. There's a strategic plan here that's laid out, but increasing student success rates has to be fundamental to what we do. Graduating students on time has to be fundamental to what we do. Demanding excellence in everything that we do is fundamentally important to what we do. So I am delighted to be here. I believe passionately in UMass. I believe passionately in UMass Dartmouth. And my background affords me the opportunity to fundamentally understand what UMass Dartmouth means to this region of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I get it. I fundamentally get it. And I'm going to be committed to doing everything that I can do to make this university great, to make it great. I will say that I like the 79%, but I'm never, ever satisfied. It drives me every day. When there's 75%, that means 21% that we're losing. Great public universities in America, and I study universities around the country, it's part of what my job is. They want to get their freshman success rate up to about 90%. That's where the great public universities in America are, and that's what we want all of our campuses at UMass to get. That's what we want all of them to get. So thank you for having me. I'd be glad to take questions if anyone has any questions. But I thank you for inviting me here, and I believe in UMass. And I want all of you to participate with us to make UMass Dartmouth as great as it can. I want to thank the folks who are here that have contributed, Reverend Lawrence, Claire. Thank you for all of you that commit to endowed scholarships. We need to increase the endowment of all of our campuses and UMass generally, because the challenges of being totally accessible to everyone is really important, and you can only do that if you increase your endowment. I've been reading stories about some of the the non-elite private universities in this state that are having troubles, and they will. Higher education is a very competitive business, and it is competitive. Make no mistake about it. And the students that are here, we're happy to have you here at UMass Dartmouth. You add to the vitality of this university, and it is competitive. We're happy that you're here. But I look at some of the endowments at some of the other privates that have probably been raising money longer than the publics have. We have to redouble our efforts and make a commitment to increase the endowment of this university. So I would ask all of you, the first campaign ever for UMass Dartmouth is fundamentally important to getting this campus, this university to where it needs to be. With that, thank you for having me. I'd be glad to answer any questions that anyone has. I love to answer questions, especially tough ones. All of our campuses need to be fully engaged in recruiting the best quality students that we can get on all the campuses. I can imagine having satellite office part-time courses that would be offered, for example, in Boston for part-time folks who could come down. You have Saturday classes here. They could come down on weekends. So I think that we can increase the enrollment at the law school using a combination of full and part-time students. Accreditation is the most important thing we need to get to, but we're a UMass law school, which means we need all of the campuses to be engaged and involved in programming and in recruitment of students, and I think that we could do a better job at that. We have had, one of the things, and I was enthusiastic about a public law school, one of the things that I did up at Lowell was we provided opportunities to get information to our students. There are a lot of students, undergraduate students in the entire system that want to go to law school. We need to do a better job of recruiting those students within the UMass system. The other thing that I will tell you, I hate to get into strategy with the press here, but I will tell you anyway. But once we get ABA accreditation, then we invest in advertisement, and we just make a statement about what this law school is all about. We make it in the entire New England region. At Lowell, we grew enrollment while I was there by about 50%. Why did we grow enrollment 50%? Because we needed the revenue to invest in new buildings, invest in new tenure track faculty members. You need to grow enrollment, and you don't want to grow enrollment lowering selectivity. You want to grow enrollment and increase selectivity. The average SAT score at Lowell, at the time when we increased our enrollment by 50%, the average math verbal SAT score went up 80 points in that same period of time. So what does that mean? That means you have to increase the pool of applicants that want to come. And you have to articulate publicly through advertising what your niche is. And I can't think of fundamentally a better niche in a state like Massachusetts than public service, than social justice. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. So I'm only about 8 weeks into the job right now, and frankly, we've been working on the budget. I've been working with your legislators on A, getting budget approved, B, there was a minor issue of an override, C, tuition retention, and D, we need to get our contracts funded, and we're going to pay those contracts no matter what. Before I got this job, I had a private conversation, and I thanked the head of the union for making it private, and I said, look, if I become president of this university, we're going to pay no matter where the money comes from, no matter how it gets done, we're going to pay the cost of living increases for our faculty. Because universities, I said at the outset, they're about people. They're about faculty, the administration to support the faculty, and students, and the interaction that takes place. And you cannot have a world-class university, you can't keep morale up if people don't get their cost of living increases that have been negotiated. So and these are tough issues, I understand that. I'd like to think that's why I got the job. We're going to solve them, but we are going to pay our employees. We're not going to start a semester without a commitment that we're going to pay our employees. So all of those things combined, I think, are important. So I look forward to working with the law school and Trustee Exaferris. I look forward to your view of what we should do. I've also been looking at and talking to some national consultants on law school admissions. All of you know that law schools nationally, there are a lot of things happening with restructuring of the economy nationally, and restructuring of law firms and all the rest of it. But we will get there, and I'm committed to it.
I think Professor Godwin.
I'm just curious as to some of the things that you did at Lowe to increase freshman admission.
Yes. You look at best practices around the United States, you can find best practices. Students who live on campus have a higher likelihood of being successful academically. That likelihood of being successful academically, particularly as a freshman, increases dramatically when you have academic programming where you have cohorts of students that have the same majors, that take the same courses. You assign faculty, you give them a stipend, you give them more money, assign them to cohorts of students, and have them work with those students. They get into study groups. You provide in your residence halls the appropriate academic space so students can study. When I got to Lowell, if you lived within a 20-mile radius, you couldn't live on campus. First thing I did when I walked through the door, I said, that's a ridiculous rule. Freshmen are going to be the priority for campus. We're going to increase our housing at Lowell, and we've increased it so far by 2,800 beds, and they have a plan to get it up even higher. But freshmen need to stay on campus, and I am a passionate advocate when we admit people to the university to get freshmen to stay on campus, and also to hold our campuses available for accountable for the academic programming that's in the. You could lose a student, as you know, your faculty, you could lose a student in 2 weeks. Semester starts, you could lose them in 2 weeks. If they're in physics or calculus and they miss 2 weeks or they're not in the book, you're going to lose them. So we need to be on top of this from the day the students come in. It starts with orientation. It starts with how students are prepared. So those are some of the things that one of the things I want to do in terms of the system as a whole, let's look at best practices. Not just within the UMass system either. I'm interested in looking outside at best practices. Advising is critically important. Looking at the best technology that is available to help with advising, making sure advisors get to students right from the beginning. It's a challenging job. All of you know, it's not as if the chancellor or the president tells people what to do at a university, right? I didn't tell people what to do at all. You lead them in a direction, and there are complexities to doing this right. Advising is fundamentally important to freshman success rates and getting advisors, getting them connected to students right from the beginning. So those are some of the ideas that I have. And I'm going to mention something else that is the challenge we have within the UMass system. We have the Boston campus. The Boston campus doesn't have housing. Doesn't have any housing. Now, I just told you, universities increase student success rates by having housing. Boston is the only minority-majority campus in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. How dare we have the only campus, minority-majority, doesn't have housing? If we don't do something about this issue, there's going to be a UMass law school graduate who's going to figure out that fundamentally is wrong. And they're going to file a lawsuit in federal district court, and it's going to be required that housing be provided in Boston. So we are coming up with a plan to do that exactly to get at your issue. And you know, it's interesting to me that there are people that criticize graduation rates at a university that isn't allowed to have residence halls with academic programming in it. Minority, majority. Shame on us. Shame on us. So those are some of the ideas that I have. But there are other ideas as well. I've been working closely on this issue because I think freshmen. And by the way, for those of you who are A&F for administration or you watch the budgets, when students are successful and retained, the amount of revenue coming in goes up. It goes up. It actually is good financially for the institution. So that's another. Now, it's not the first reason why we want freshmen to succeed, but I can tell you, when your number goes to, say, your A&F people can give you the numbers. When you go from 70 to 79%, there's a certain amount of money that creates, and if the state legislature cut us that amount, everyone will be hollering about it. All right? But that's what we lose when we lose that many students. And it's true sophomore year, it's true junior year. So it's really critically important. And I would love to talk further about this. I'm going to spend a lot of time focusing on best practices of freshman success rates. And I'm pleased to hear that you're really interested in housing, academic programming, advising, getting to students early, right from the beginning. It's one of the reasons why student convocation is so important. And I have to go to the swearing in the new Bridgewater State University president that I committed to go to. But I hope at this convocation that you take the opportunity to tell those students and put them on notice they have to be studying on top of their game day one. And if they have a problem, they need to get to their advisor. And I think that communication starts right. It's one of the reasons why student convocation is so fundamentally important, because students have to understand this is where the rubber meets the road. This is going to determine whether or not I can achieve what I set out to achieve in my life for the rest of my life. I have to succeed in it. And student convocation provides a great opportunity to do that. Am I talking too long?